Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read you a very interesting article and a major political victory for President Trump. Trump celebrates GOP-led voting overhaul in Georgia. Former President Trump on Friday celebrated the signing of a far-reaching elections bill in Georgia, praising state GOP officials for, quote, learning from the travesty, which he lost after now President Biden flipped several key states, including Georgia. Quote, congratulations to Georgia and the Georgia state legislature on changing their rules and regulations, Trump said in a statement through his political action committee, Save America. Quote, they learned from the travesty, which can never be allowed to happen again. Too bad these changes could not have been done sooner. Trump's remarks came a day after Governor Brian Kemp signed into law a sweeping series of measures that have drawn fierce criticism from Democrats and voting rights advocates. By the way, Democrats only, when they talk about voting rights, they didn't pass a bill from John Conyers. When the Supreme Court made its decision regarding the 1965 Voting Rights Act, Jim Sensenbrenner and John Conyers, years back, I think it was in like 2015, wrote a bill to address voting rights throughout the country. Democrats didn't look at it, or they didn't pass it. But they want, well, let's just read this. You have to ask yourself, why don't Democrats pass nationwide legislation? Anyway, that's another story. Earlier on Friday, Biden denounced the new voting law, calling it, so this is the same man who wrote the crime bill with the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity that, luckily for him, his son evaded. Quote, this law, like so many others pursued by Republicans in the state houses across the country, is an affront on our Constitution. Everything is linked. See, this is the Lincoln Project nonsense. The absolutely disgraced Lincoln Project nonsense. Okay? Everything is tied to your political objectives or your political victories or your party is tied to the Constitution. Whatever is good for your political party is good for the Constitution. If it's bad for you, it's bad for the Constitution. Nobody believes this nonsense, but here, this law, like so many others pursued by Republicans in state houses across the country, is a blatant affront on our Constitution and good conscience. Thank you, good conscience. Yes, tell us more. Let's see. We have Miss Reed, who filed a police report against our beloved President Biden for allegedly doing what Trump talked about in a hot mic, which wasn't a deposition. So that was a bizarre thing he talked about. I've never heard that in my life, but that's literally what Biden has been accused of in a police report, okay? And a woman has accused him of that. Of course, Democrats didn't care, didn't believe. Media, New York Times, basically went after the messenger, did everything that they would accuse. If Republicans had acted the way they did, oh my God, you wouldn't hear the end of the outrage. But it's Democrats. Oftentimes the biggest hypocrites on the planet on many topics, many issues. When Republicans were utilizing the same tactics in elections in years past, you saw articles in Slate, the New York Times, Palm Beach Post, a whole bunch of publications throughout the country talking about how Republicans are utilizing the same tactics that they utilize now and that they're trying to protect. But anyway, the law takes aim at several elements of voting process in Georgia. Hit subscribe to this channel right this second. Tell your friends about this channel. If you want to support my voice via Patreon, to my new Patreons, thank you. If you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Roanoke Times, The Federalist, The Daily Caller, other publications, just go to hagoodman.com. You can see my debates there as well. The law takes aim at several elements of the voting process in Georgia, mandating that voters provide driver's licenses or state-issued ID. What's wrong with that? Any form of ID. What on earth is wrong with that? It is the most bigoted stance, which is like oftentimes the morally superior liberals have this, that, oh, it disenfranchises certain groups. Every group in this country has some type of ID, either a driver's license or a state-issued ID. Everyone. If you think that someone doesn't have an ID, you're a bigoted individual. I'm sorry. And it's something that everyone needs to have. In California, when I voted for President Trump, they asked for my ID. Everyone is I've always been asked for my ID. Ever since I can remember voting in California, which has been 20 years now, I've been asked for my ID. What on earth is wrong with that? What on earth is wrong with that? Like, there are certain eras in certain time periods in American history where, you would have to pass a test and all of these things. Yes, that is egregious. What is wrong with showing an ID just to make sure you're the person? Oh, Democrats don't want that. Numbers to request and submit absentee ballots. So, limiting the use of drop boxes and giving state lawmakers and the GOP-controlled legislatures more control over local election matters. So, what's wrong with that? Republicans have sought to counter Democrats' claim of voter suppression and disenfranchisement, arguing that, when Democrats say voter suppression, they don't mean voter suppression. They mean, they mean a whole bunch of other things, but here, arguing that measures seek to expand voting access by enshrining ballot drop boxes into state law. What's wrong with that? Make it a uniform protocol throughout the state. Don't just say, oh yeah, we're going to put that thing here, there, and here, and we'll pick it up when we'll pick up stuff. Well, we don't even know who's picking it. We're just fine. Just trust us. Media is not going to just trust us. Honestly, just trust us, which I do. Oh yes, H.A. Goodman trusts media and the Democratic Party, and everything is just fine. But their vantage point, the Republicans, the mean Republicans, the people who vote for Trump, not me. Their vantage point is, oh yeah, media will say, just trust the Democrats. Democrats will say, just trust us. Republicans might say, wait a second, that makes no sense. And then Democrats and media will say, do you have absolute categorical proof? And then they'll say, no, but we need to investigate. Oh, a baseless claim. And then it'll be a circle. But then when Democrats make any allegation, we need to investigate right now. Media said, we need to investigate right now. Democrats make a baseless claim. Trump worked with Russia. No, he didn't. Where's the evidence? We need to investigate for 4 years. Trump, he makes a baseless claim. This doesn't make any sense. How dare you? How dare you? Media, how dare you? Oh my God, the nerve. Well, can we at least investigate these? There's no need for investigation. The claims are so outlandish. You mean like Russian Facebook ads swinging votes? That's not outlandish. James Clapper said that. Was he certain? No, he was confident. Oh, okay. That's not baseless. Gotcha. And then there's requiring a mandatory early voting on 2 Saturdays before an election. So what's wrong with that? My God. What's wrong with that? Oh, no. But Democrats have accused Republicans of trying to, in their favor. Okay. Trump also sought to pressure Kemp and Georgia's Secretary of State and other state officials to reverse his electoral. Okay, so he's repeatedly spread baseless claims about systemic irregularities. Those were baseless claims. Oh, baseless. Baseless. Anyway, this is a huge victory for President Trump. I know that, a great many people are looking what's taking place, and they're like, okay, there'll never be any justice with the Durham probe. Nothing will ever change. 2022 is around the corner. By the way, Chag Sameach to my Jewish viewers. Happy Passover and Happy Easter. to my Christian viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge victory for President Trump, an absolute huge victory. It really is. And it is the type of thing that people should be hyped up about. The next 4 years from now will be different. This was like really the perfect storm. Last year was like the perfect storm of a whole bunch of things. President Trump fell into certain traps. He shouldn't have insulted LeBron James. He shouldn't have insulted NFL athletes on Twitter. He shouldn't have gone into beefs. There's no reason for that anymore. No more beefs. No more back and forth. If a celebrity says something, don't even respond. If President Trump doesn't respond, I know people are going to say, "Oh my God, what does this have to do?" No, he needs to respond and go back. And he should pick and choose, like, depending on who the celebrity is. Or like, if it's a really famous celebrity, if it's not, I don't know. Like, yeah, you respond. I don't know, but it can't be. He needs to use his new social media company in a way that doesn't overshadow his accomplishments. President Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. That's a fact. He did good things. He signed prison reform legislation. He's literally the opposite of a despot. He reversed U.S. foreign policy. He's paved the way to bring Americans home. May 1st, 2021, we're supposed to bring Americans home. So, and of course, Biden will not honor that. So, there are a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of things that President Trump can do in the next 4 years. Look, he's almost certainly going to be the GOP nominee. Okay? Republicans would... it would be actually enjoyable for me if Mitt Romney were the nominee. It would be one of the few times in like a decade that I've enjoyed a Democrat winning the White House, because I was a lifelong Democrat. But, like, it would be a wonderful thing to see, they should just go ahead and they should float, like, just the idea of Mitt Romney or Ben Sasse being the GOP nominee, and then come out with a preliminary polls how they would do against Biden. They would get decimated. They would get obliterated. They would get annihilated. It would be hilarious. And then you say, well, Trump lost. Like, yeah, you had 92% negative media coverage. And they blamed the pandemic on him. And they propped up Andrew Cuomo, the real monster. Like, all the real monsters were at work. That's why we're governors of Democratic-run states. 7 of the top 11 states with the highest number of lives lost account for over 40% of the lives lost in the country. They're all Democratic-run states. 34% of the lives lost were in nursing homes. Guess who's responsible for the greatest nursing home scandals? Andrew Cuomo. 15,000 lives lost attributed to him in New York. 15,000. You cannot attribute a number of lives lost to Trump, but you can to Cuomo and Whitmer and Murphy. Phil Murphy could be worse than... If you're in New Jersey, who do you think's worse, Phil Murphy or Andrew Cuomo? And God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. They deserve better than the two governors that they have. But this is a huge victory for President Trump. Huge victory. And it shouldn't be like, when Democrats, I don't want to get into it, they have the smallest majority, one of the smallest majorities in Congress, and they have every single conceivable possible advantage. Just think of the advantages. Late night, Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel, like, if you listen to Jimmy Kimmel, like, there's nothing funny he says anymore. It's just like mean, vapid insults leveled at Republicans or Trump. Mainly Trump. That's it. Tell me, like, and then you, like, watch James Corden or Stephen Colbert, and they give their sermons and their preaching and their pontificating of, it's like, why does anyone need to hear what you're talking about people worth $100 million. They're in a bubble where that nobody's wearing a Make America Great Again hat going into any of those studios. They're They are not, I mean, have they even met a Trump supporter? There's 74 million of us. Have they met one? And I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. And the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. According to the Washington Post, a lot of Bernie Sanders voters voted for Trump. This is what I'd love to ask Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Trevor Noah, John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, the cast of Saturday Night Live, any Hollywood celebrity, De Niro, any of the intelligence operatives. I'd love to ask any of them. Any of the writers of the Washington Post and New York Times. Do you have anyone in your families? Do you have any friends? Do you know anybody at all that voted Trump? Have you had a conversation with them where you weren't completely apoplectic and seething and yelling and fuming? Did you actually ask, why did you vote for Trump? Did you ever ask that? Do you think Jimmy Kimmel ever asked anyone he knows? He probably doesn't know anyone who voted for Trump, but maybe he does, in a calm, rational manner. Hey, why did you vote for Trump? And do you think maybe he got a reasonable answer? Well, I voted for foreign policy. I want to bring Americans home, and Trump reversed U.S. foreign policy. Oh, he signed the First Step Act. We had record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure. I mean, you generally can't explain these types of things to people who don't like Trump, but you would think that if you devote your life to despising him, that maybe you could think of why others voted for him in a rational manner. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Huge victory for